Hello. In this presentation, I will be discussing my planned intent, implementation, and impact of a unit of work on embroidery sewing in Year 6. To discuss my intent, in the Key Stage 2 portion of the National Curriculum for DT, it is said that by the end of Key Stage 2, children should have engaged with lessons on designing and making that are underpinned with knowledge and understanding and a skill set that can carry them forward into future learning and everyday life. Notably, the curriculum says that children should work in a range of relevant contexts, for example, the home, school, leisure, culture, enterprise, industry, and the wider environment. The sequence of learning that I have created includes objectives that see designing, making, and evaluating. They will explore the component of technical knowledge throughout, but particularly in lessons with learning objectives on investigating materials, relevant artifacts, as well as offering peer feedback during practical work. Intention for this sequence of learning is to express creativity. In DT, children are encouraged to learn life skills that will aid their future. Sewing is a life skill. However, it is also a hobby that can bring fulfillment through pleasure and self-expression. There is a difference in someone sewing to fix a button on a blazer compared to someone embroidering their favorite pair of jeans for aesthetic purposes. Ron 2013 continuously discusses the nature of the working environment as something that should be collaborative. He identifies the benefits of a classroom culture that encourages innovative thinking and creation through inspiration, particularly when the DT project seeks to increase awareness on places or cultures, or even explore alternative perspectives outside of a child's typical understanding of the world. When done successfully, a child might better cognitively process an idea or concept. Returning back to my previous point that children need time to investigate, it is important that the children really do have time to observe, analyze, and even manipulate material, to be inspired by their findings and to create purpose alongside enjoyment. For this precise sequence of learning, the children will have the unique opportunity to role-play as backstage crew for their Year 6 production of Matilda the Musical. Mainly as a costume or set designer, the children will consider how embroidery pieces can elevate the storytelling of Matilda. Vygotsky believed that pretend play is the catalyst to creativity, and the children will attempt this by immersing themselves, putting themselves in the shoes of the backstage crew. I believe this is an invaluable chance for the children to contribute to their end of school production, not just as performers, but also now as creators. This links back to the national curriculum in 2013 that says they should work with a range of relevant contexts, for example, school, leisure, culture, enterprise, industry, and the wider environment. This context is for the children, a school, and the industry, the theatre industry. This context is something that can be taken home and developed as a life skill. Next section is the intended implementation, delving into the three critical decisions that I had when making this unit of learning. The Technology Association states that design and technology helps you to teach maths and English and other subjects on the curriculum in a fun and inspiring manner. My first critical decision was that every single starter activity will be a prior learning recap. Design and Technology Progression Framework of 2014, it has a section on making products work in technical knowledge in Key Stage 2. It gives the example of how to use learning from mathematics to help design and make products that work. Using this example, I created a starter activity or considered a starter activity where the children might recap counting and translation in maths before designing a cross-stitch pattern on a square grid. For children who struggle with translation, finding the symmetrical nature of cross-stitch might be something that's particularly challenging, so this starter activity will help them. The Deans for Impact Science of Learning raises that a well-sequenced curriculum is important to ensure the students have prior knowledge that they need to master new ideas. In DT, much of the technical skills and practical work is supported by learning that is done in other subjects. Another example is oracy work in English. When children investigate artifacts of clothing, they need to be able to constructively and respectfully present their opinions orally to one another. Sander and Mercer mentions three types of teacher talk: rote, recitation, and instructional exposition. These have their benefits, but the children must also have opportunities to learn from one another and for the more knowledgeable others to thrive. My second critical decision was to allocate time in learning for problem solving, as all good DT units should include, to utilize Vygotsky's more knowledgeable other in practical work. Kirshner and Hendrick discussed their more knowledgeable other, saying that this is an effective way of teaching something new. This is closely related to what is known as the zone of proximal development. The children will need guidance on how to solve common errors, but even if I taught 6 out of 30 children how to untangle a knot, that is now 6 new teachers to guide their peers so that most eventually can undo a knot or tie a knot themselves. This is a form of scaffolded teaching. Finally, before creating the sequence of learning, I needed a better understanding on what is achievable. A child who can achieve this type of quality product that I've shown on this slide is undeniably a more knowledgeable other. Their skills should be praised and utilised, but this is not realistic for the majority. My final critical decision was to establish the variation in designs and consider the possibilities within the making. I considered children making one gigantic blanket. I considered them making embroidery blazers for costume pieces. I considered the entire set pieces of fabric that could be hung up on the stage. In the end, I settled for something much more simpler, as seen on the next slide. The children are going to make embroidery squares, and we will return to their potential and what we can do with them later. On another note, these examples may be helpful for children to investigate. Cross 2016 says a young learner develops their understanding through the study of artifacts. So ask the children, why might this example be difficult to replicate? What stitches could you use instead? What would you change for your own design? In 2011, a DT Ofsted report stated that primary teaching of DT should ensure that there is a high-quality teaching of ICT in DT. Even in sewing, it's important to include an element of ICT practice to continue building computing skills for children. So this is why there is a digital example for the design portion, but a practical example is the sewing. When considering practical work, we must consider the adaptations that might be needed. Teacher Standard 5 says adapt teaching to respond to the strengths and needs of all pupils. This includes SEND, EAL, or children who might be flagged up for emotional dysregulation. Teacher Standard 6 says make accurate and productive uses of assessment. Swiftly moves on to the impact. For assessment, I was inspired by the reading of Farragut 2014. Assessment should be natural, integral, and essential part of everyday learning. Assessment for learning can be clinical, but Vygotsky argued that assessment should be an ongoing process where each new cycle is a new beginning of the learning process. It's important to track the pupil's starting point and their prior knowledge, especially in Year 6. Ofsted 2014 states that not all children are finishing Key Stage 1 with foundational skills and knowledge that they need, particularly the most vulnerable and disadvantaged. If a child did not consolidate a running stitch in Year 2, then achieving a successful running stitch is a larger jump in process than the children who quickly picked up cross stitch in Year 5 and is repeating the technique. This achievement for this unit of learning is a product that demonstrates embroidery skills. However, Rutland and Miles Pearson 2017 breaks DT into 4 criteria for creativity. One is concept and idea. Is it innovative but practical? Does it have functionality? Number 2 is aesthetic creativity. Does it appeal for the senses? Number 3 is technical creativity, consideration for practical materials used and again their functionality. Number 4, constructional creativity. Resources needed. Is it viable? Is it achievable? Especially in a practical time frame. As an exciting potential, their final product could be their new prototype. It is a continuation of learning. This is why summer term Year 6 would be the most ideal for this project because of the leniency on time. Hope 2006 says evaluation by children of their own and each other's work can help promote a culture in which new opportunities for excellence can be sought. The children can evaluate their work as individual pieces and then as a collaborative piece, appreciating it and being constructively critical of it in a new light. So in theory, the children could take this piece of sewing and they could decide amongst themselves how they are going to now implement it into the set of Matilda the Musical. I think this is an exciting and unique opportunity that allows children to develop and share different skills across different subjects in the curriculum, not just DT. Thank you so much for listening.